Okay guys, the worst of the year list is out of the way. Now it's time for the good shit. Let me just start off by saying that this list was very hard to make. I mean, it was actually pretty easy until the end of the year when all the Oscar darlings came out and I had to go, oh shit, let me reevaluate this. With all that being said, let me just try to clarify from the get-go that this isn't an Oscar list. This is just my personal favorite movies of the year. Out of all the movies I saw this year, these were my personal favorites. That being said, let's get started. Oh yes, I'm giving Furious 7 some love here. The Fast and the Furious franchise is the only series I've seen that has slowly succeeded more and more by delving into self-parody. And Furious 7 is the best in the series, in my opinion. This is a big dumb action film that knows it's a big dumb action film, and yet there is so much heart and emotion behind it. It's actually smarter than your average big dumb action film. Does that make sense? I don't care. It felt like what was set up in the past 3 movies had finally come full circle this time around, and all the emotion felt earned, like everything had been building up to this. The actors all do a good job. I loved the parallel between Dominic Toretto and Deckard Shaw, as the film clearly shows that there isn't a thing either one of them wouldn't do for their families. In that regard, there is some smart writing here. The ending of this film makes me cry every time I see it. It is a perfect ending. So perfect that I wish they would just end the whole series here. What they do to honor Paul Walker and his character is so beautifully done. The final shot of this movie in particular is fantastic. They took opportunities to honor Walker's memory and make this a great final film for him, despite all the reshoots and retooling they had to do after his untimely death. Given that, they had a lot riding against them during the production, and they overcame everything, delivering a film about the importance of family that was fun, meaningful, and heartfelt. Rest in peace, Paul Walker. We miss you.
What's up now? What's up now? What's up now? Hold it down like what's up now?
If you've seen my review for this, you should know that I didn't really love it as much as most people did. I honestly believe that in terms of the story here, they just pushed the Star Wars Greatest Hits button and set the plot to autopilot, and I stand by that. However, I would be lying if I said I didn't have a ton of fun with this film regardless of that. Most everything done with the characters was great. It was awesome seeing these new characters interact with the old ones. I love BB-8. Rey is a badass. Finn is hilarious. And even Darth Tantrum over here gets a few good moments. And I think that's a real testament to this film, that while the story isn't anything we haven't seen in this franchise before, and the world building is beyond lazy, the internal conflicts of the characters and the characters' personalities are so enjoyable and fun that you can still get sucked into what's happening, regardless of all that. It was a very fun movie because the new characters, as well as some old ones, made it a fun movie. These were well done characters, and after a few more viewings, I just kinda stopped caring that the story was a rehash. Did it live up to all its hype? I didn't think so, but I was just happy to be back in a galaxy far, far away. And while I don't think it's the best Star Wars film, not even by a long shot, I would say it's the most fun Star Wars film. J.J. Abrams filmed this movie with such a raw intensity. This is a man who is a master at shooting action scenes. The Millennium Falcon chase in particular was fantastically done. For all this shit I give Into Darkness, none of the problems with that movie were because of Abrams. He did great. It wasn't his fault the script for that movie was god-awful. They played it very safe with this film, but the more I think about it, maybe that's not too bad a thing. This is the start of a new trilogy, after all. I mean, look at it this way. Star Trek 2009 played it incredibly safe as well, and I didn't have a heart attack over that. Much like that film, this did have to reintroduce old characters. This did have to reintroduce a world we haven't seen for a decade, and it had to introduce some new characters. I would argue Star Trek 2009 did this better, but I definitely understand the circumstances and the pressure that J.J. Abrams was under. This could not have been an easy undertaking, and in all fairness, we've been given much worse in this franchise. Now, you may be wondering, Why is this film on my best of the year list when I only gave it a B? Well, aside from the fact that I did like it a lot more upon repeat viewings, there was one other thing that kept it on this list. One thing I couldn't ignore, and there was just no getting around it. And no, it's not just because I'm a fanboy and it's Star Wars. No. That's not it at all. Going into 2015, at the beginning of this past year, there were so many movies that I was looking forward to. So many blockbusters that I was just dying to see. The Force Awakens is the only one out of all those films that didn't piss me off. Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, Chappie, Pan, Spectre, Mockingjay Part 2, Sinister 2, Hot Tub Time Machine 2, Jupiter Ascending, Black Mass, and Jurassic World all had me walking out fuming or immensely disappointed. Star Wars had me walking out with a smile after each viewing. In a sea of disappointments, Star Wars was a saving grace, despite its flaws. And I'm sorry, but that meant a lot to me. In the end, I'm just happy to have Star Wars back in my life. Even if it's not perfect.
The Force. It's calling to you. Just let it in.
There's no other way to say this. Fuck Spectre. With the exception of that overbearing, overlong, convoluted turd on the anus of filmmaking, 2015 was a great year for spy movies. And Kingsman has everything you want in a film that both celebrates and mocks the James Bond franchise at every turn. It has the gadgets, the memorable henchmen, the over-the-top action, the fun characters, the eccentric villain who's all sophisticated but for some reason eats McDonald's. My God, this movie's awesome. How can anyone not love this? Colin Firth is a badass. Every action scene he's in, he makes such an impression, and it's surprising. I'm used to seeing him do serious, dramatic roles. Would you guess that he could kick this much ass? It's also kind of surprising to me that Kingsman is the only comic book film that made my list this year. Last year there were 3. Kind of says something about the state of comic book movies this year, doesn't it? Regardless though, Kingsman is a brilliant movie from the beginning of the year that got me seriously pumped for what the rest of the year had in store.
Do I look like I give them?
You can't always please the crowd. Still not bowing down in this heavy crowd.
Son of a bitch!
Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg reunited for the first time in 11 years. Hard to believe it's been that long, really. We were seriously overdue for one of these. This movie features some incredible drama, 2 outstanding lead performances, and a thrilling story based on a trial and prisoner exchange during the Cold War. It's moving, it's exciting, and it has wonderful moral commentaries involving war and the treatment of prisoners. They could have easily demonized the Russians in this film, and it would have been easy for them to do. But this film didn't demonize either side, and instead opted to show how both sides had their positives and negatives. Neither one was perfect in their methods regarding this period in history, and in many ways, our moralities weren't so different either. There's that nice moral gray area to this film that makes it exciting and unique. I can't say it's one of Spielberg's absolute best, but it fits nicely in his filmography nonetheless.
Things have started to fall apart.
Is this your position or your government's?
Is there any outcome here where I'm not either detained or shot?
Do we need to worry about you?
No!
What's the move when you don't know what the game is?
The next mistake our countries make could be the last one.
Every year, I try to put a film on this list that I felt was very underrated. Last year, it was Transcendence and Winter's Tale. This year, it's The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Yet another spy movie that kicked ass this year. I know, it's the third one in a row. I promise it's the last one. There was not a moment in this film where I wasn't entertained by the humor, the actors, the fun story, everything, to be honest. It still pisses me off that this tanked while Spectre was a hit. The film is about an American spy played by Henry Cavill and a Russian spy played by Armie Hammer, who are forced to work together during the Cold War to stop a terrorist. The banter between these two is hilarious. I love how Cavill is this cocky agent who constantly fucks up. I love how Hammer is this know-it-all, untrusting dick, but is constantly wrong about his intel. Alicia Vikander is fantastic as always and has great chemistry with Armie Hammer. I love how she always proves him wrong in this. There's an awesome dynamic between them. This is a smart movie with interesting characters, fun setups, and legitimately awesome twists and turns. I'm so mad this movie tanked at the box office because I want to see more of these characters. This has to be the most underappreciated film since John fucking Carter. Case in point, if you haven't seen this film, please get off your ass and do so. Right now.
It's a new day, it's a new life.
Oh, and you have a new code name.
Code name?
Uncle.
This film is hard to watch at times, and not because it's bad, but because of the subject matter. This story of how these reporters uncovered the conspiracies of the Catholic Church in Boston and molestation of children is just unnerving. Performances all around are wonderful. Michael Keaton, my God, I'm so happy he's made a comeback in recent years. This and Birdman have made me realize just how much I miss this actor. People, be honest, we all need more Batman in our lives. Just saying. Spotlight is a film that never lets up on the tension. It's absolutely riveting, and one of the best written films of the year. This film is directed with subtlety and heart. I felt so much emotion for the victims of these crimes, and that's the point. The movie is designed to make you emotional and uneasy, and it all comes through beautifully in the end.
This is not just Boston, it's the whole country, it's the whole world.
They knew, and they let it happen. It could have been you, it could have been me, it could have been any of us.
After two horrendous disappointments in recent years, the Ridley Scott we all know and love finally came back to us this year by giving us The Martian, a wonderful sci-fi film about a man stranded on Mars and forced to survive for as long as it takes for a crew to come save him. So, basically, just Castaway on Mars. It's probably the best way to describe it. This film is moving, funny, and definitely one of the smartest sci-fi films we have been given in recent years. Matt Damon gives the performance of his career in this film as astronaut Mark Watney, showing a range we don't often see from him. It's a blast watching him science the shit out of Mars so that he can survive on a planet where nothing grows. Watching all of that was an experience in and of itself. The rest of the film was every bit as entertaining. I am hard-pressed to think of one moment in this film that bored me or left me uninterested. This whole movie is a masterwork of science fiction. I don't really think I can be surprised, though. Despite some crappy films in some other genres, Ridley Scott has an impeccable reputation with science fiction. From Alien to Blade Runner to Prometheus, The Martian takes its rightful place among them all.
No matter what happens, tell the world, tell my family that I never stop fighting to make it home.
Curse my damn testosterone, this movie is the shit! This was a film that I honestly just wasn't looking forward to. I thought it might be okay, but not much else, and it blew everyone away. I was constantly on the edge of my seat throughout this entire movie. I damn near crapped my pants at the pure spectacle of it all. The action is incredible. The use of practical effects is unlike anything ever shown on screen. Every frame of this movie looks beautiful and unique. The actors are all fantastic. Tom Hardy was a perfect replacement for Max, Charlize Theron was badass as Furiosa, and supporting performances by Zoe Kravitz, Nicholas Hoult, and Rosie Huntington-Whiteley helped to add a depth to this film that no one was expecting it to have. George Miller is a master of visual storytelling, and Mad Max Fury Road is his masterpiece. Big Bug, Big Bug! We love you, man. We love you, man. I'll take her to the moon for you, Big Bug. I'll be honest, I didn't really think any Pixar film could be better or give me the feels more than Toy Story 3 did, but here you go, here it is. Inside Out was yet another wonderful, groundbreaking film in Pixar's library. It's original, it's very funny, and never once does it pander to children. It's a film that reminds us that sadness can be a healthy thing. It's a part of growing up, it's a part of life. Life isn't one big happy experience all the time. The sad points in our lives help define who we are and who we will become. It's great to be happy, but it's okay to be sad, angry, disgusted, and scared. They're natural emotions, and the film perfectly plays on that. The characters are brilliant, the story is brilliant, it is by a landslide my favorite Pixar film.
Brain freeze!
Hang on! Riley, here we come!
Well, I wasn't gonna fanboy for Age of Ultron. I didn't exactly fanboy for Force Awakens. I am sure as fuck gonna fanboy for this. Talk about an unexpected surprise. I am still in awe about how much respect this movie paid to Schultz's vision of Peanuts. Just like with Inside Out, I cried after seeing this movie because it was so beautiful. The animation is spectacular. There's a great mix of both 3D and 2D animation that helps it stand out. They resurrected Bill Melendez to keep him as the voice of Snoopy in Woodstock. The child voice actors sound like the kids who voiced these characters back in the day. The story is perfect. It wonderfully recaptures everything that made Peanuts and its characters so endearing. It would have been easy for them to just stick these characters in modern day, playing with iPods, sitting on ass, watching Netflix, or going to the mall to shop at Target. This film doesn't do that. The kids play outside. They do talent shows. They go to school dances. They ice skate. They play baseball. They do shit that kids are supposed to do. And after so many years of adaptations, just sticking classic characters in modern day, butchering the heart of what made them good, the Peanuts movie is so damn refreshing in how wholesome it is. It doesn't need to pander to a younger audience for them to enjoy it. There is a reason Peanuts has stayed in the hearts of so many for so long. I don't say this for many adaptations of children's entertainment, but the Peanuts movie is an animated masterpiece for Blue Sky Studios, and I am currently awaiting its Blu-ray release. Impatiently so.
Comes the incredible story
There's a guy who's going places.
of an underdog
I can't believe I'm about to talk to the new girl.
and his dog.
Hello? She said hello.
The Peanuts movie.
Yep, I'm calling it. Joel Edgerton is the best actor turned director since Ben fucking Affleck. Edgerton writes, directs, and co-stars in this gripping, horrific thriller about a married man whose past comes back to bite him in the ass. What makes this film so damn intriguing is that just when you think you have it pegged, you realize that you don't. This movie cleverly turns the tables about halfway through and makes you see certain characters in a whole new light. It creates good mystery because you never know what's going to happen, and it all culminates in a brilliant ending. There were horror films I loved this year. Crimson Peak and Krampus were both phenomenal horror films that just barely escaped making this list. Damn it, Oscar season, you ruin everything! The Gift, however, was the one horror film that hit me the most because it's purely psychological horror that goes back and forth and messes with your mind. Jason Bateman proves in this that he can do more than just comedy, which is what we normally see from him. Joel Edgerton steals every scene he's in. He's fantastic in this. The Gift is a perfect horror thriller, and I hope it's not the last directed film we see from Joel Edgerton.
Simon Says, new house. Simon Says, beautiful wife. Simon Says. You think you're done with the past, but the past is not done with you.
Creed was without a doubt the best film in the Rocky canon since the original. In some respects, it's better than Rocky. Michael B. Jordan was outstanding in this. See this crap? It never happened. Watch this if you want to see Michael B. Jordan as a badass. There are two specific things in this movie that make it so wonderful. Michael B. Jordan and Sylvester Stallone. Jordan continues to show why he is still one of the best actors working today. It would have been easy to make his character Adonis Creed a punk kid with no future. The film doesn't go that route. This guy is well educated and completely likable right from the start. He just has a temper that makes him want to fight. His relationship with Stallone is what gives this film so much heart. If the film didn't have Rocky as the mentor character, it wouldn't be nearly as good. Hell, it probably wouldn't even be on this list. Stallone delivers the single greatest performance I've ever seen from him in this. Yes, better than any of the other Rocky films. If he does not get a Best Supporting Actor nomination at the Oscars, I'm done with those fuckers. Stallone did only one of two things in this entire movie. He either made you laugh or he made you cry. There's a scene in this film where he's talking about his mortality, and it's impossible not to get teary-eyed watching it, especially if you've seen the other films. Watching Rocky pretty much become Mickey felt like a perfect way to continue on with the story. Honestly, when I first heard about this movie, I thought it would be an obnoxious cash grab to milk another old franchise. I'm so happy to say that I was wrong. It's well written, superbly acted, directed with a ton of heart. Creed is just a wonderful movie.
Just like any other fight. So if I fight, you fight.
I found life on this planet, damn it, I've been damaged, but I can manage, I won't take this for granted.
Bring back everything that's ever hurt you. All the pain you had inside. They don't know what we've been through. You belong here.
I found life.
This is a movie where the more I think about it, the more I actually love it. Tends to be the case with a lot of Tarantino films. This film revolves around 8 people stuck together in a cabin. Someone isn't who they say they are, and it's a mystery that constantly builds on itself. I love movies where I can never guess what's going to happen next. It makes the outcome more exciting when I can't guess the outcome. Every actor here is great. Kurt Russell is a badass once again, Sam Jackson is hilarious, and Jennifer Jason Leigh gives a fun and often humorous performance as the criminal on her way to an execution. She stays so calm and mocks people at every turn despite being punched, elbowed, and smacked around constantly. She's just awesome. I would rank this up with some of Tarantino's best work. It takes its rightful place on the shelf next to Django and Pulp Fiction. It's 3 hours long with an intermission. It could have gone on for another 3 hours and I wouldn't have cared because the dialogue was so strong, but I guess it doesn't matter. I still love this movie to no end.
You know
When you get to Harold, tell him Daisy sent you.
You gon' die now!
Remember when I said that Spotlight makes you feel uncomfortable because of the subject matter? Wow. Anima Lisa redefines uncomfortable. This whole movie is meant to make you feel uncomfortable, showing the day of a man played by David Thewlis who has become disillusioned by life to the point where everything feels the same to him. That is until he meets Lisa, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, who stands out to him in a world of sameness. Something director Charlie Kaufman does so wonderfully in this is demonstrate the sameness for us by having everyone except for Michael and Lisa voiced by Tom Noonan. It perfectly shows how nothing really stands out to the main character. It's easy to see why this movie was made in stop motion as opposed to real actors. Getting that point across would have been impossible if done without it. Thewlis and Leigh have such rich chemistry. Between this and The Hateful Eight, Jennifer Jason Leigh had a damn good year. This is a film that makes you question life, morals, and everything in between. The emotions are so real and brutally honest in this film, I forgot I was watching puppets after a while. The connection between Michael and Lisa is so heartfelt, genuine, and at times heartbreaking. This is a film that had me emotionally invested from the word go. It's rich with atmosphere, wonderful visuals, and an original thought-provoking story about love, the strangeness of life, and the sameness of human beings as only Charlie Kaufman can give us.
Our time is limited, we forget that.
No movie hit me harder this year than Ex Machina. It is a return to form for science fiction after so many duds and remakes and films that simply don't give a shit. This is one of the greatest movies to tackle the idea of artificial intelligence, and it doesn't have to bombard with effects or action sequences. It just tells a beautiful story with subtlety about what it means to be human. It's dark and haunting, and the effects it does have are mind-blowingly great. Dread writer Alex Garland does a wonderful job at spinning a tale that never lets up in the tension and always keeps you guessing. There's never a moment where what happens next can be figured out easily, as the film constantly builds on itself and thus builds the tension with it. It's a film that does exactly what true science fiction is supposed to do. It asks us complex, thought-provoking questions, it makes you think, and more so, it messes with your mind while you're thinking. You're meant to leave the theater with questions. You're meant to leave feeling uneasy and confused, and I fucking love that. It's not just that it's great science fiction, it's challenging science fiction. It doesn't spoon-feed answers to the audience. You're left to draw your own conclusions about the events happening. This movie is a mindfuck of epic proportions, and there was not a thing wrong with it. The acting was superb. Alicia Vikander gives the best performance of the year in my opinion. Her chemistry and back and forth conversations with Domhnall Gleeson are wonderful. The dialogue between Gleeson and Oscar Isaac is wonderful. There was a lot of talking in this film. In fact, that is what most of the film is, and yet it never gets boring. Much like The Hateful Eight, the dialogue between the characters strengthens the film tenfold because it's so unique and well written. What I especially love about this film is that it's not from a franchise or any pre-existing material. It's a completely original piece that had to stand on its own, and succeeded. Audiences and critics loved this film, and for damn good reason. Ex Machina is my favorite film of the year and one of the smartest sci-fi films in well over a decade.
Can we talk about the lies you've been spinning me?
What lies?
Today, I'm going to test you.
Why me?
Caleb, you have to help me.
What was the real test? You.
Is it strange to have made something that hates you?
What will happen to me if I fail your test?